Hi everybody, welcome to my channel if you are new, and welcome back to my channel if you have been here before. Today I'm going to be filming my June wrap up. So in this video I'm just going to be telling you all the books I read in June and what I rated them. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to talk about the books that I don't have physically. So the first book I read was Beyond the Gender Binary, and I'll put a picture up on the screen if I remember. And this was about a non-fiction book discussing gender and how there's so many different genders and nobody identifies just as male and female, and how you can be disrespectful without meaning to, but also it gave you tips on how to not be disrespectful to somebody's gender. So yeah, I really enjoyed this non-fiction, but the fact that it was non-fiction just put the rating down for me. I gave it 3 stars, and the fact that it wasn't really long. I mean, if it was longer I probably would have not continued on with it, or like read it over the space of like 2 months or something, because I don't usually read non-fiction. So I gave that 3 stars. The next book I have but I don't have with me is in the same series, and it's called The Queer Conscience by Adam Ely, and this is pretty much the same thing, but it's discussing queer, so gay, lesbian, all of that, and it's how basically the same thing. It gives you the history, and throughout history what's happened to gay people, and we get a little bit of insight into that though, not a lot. And we also get like ways like how to be respectful and how to make people that are gay and queer feel like they're not different, because they're not different, they're still humans, and that's it. So I gave that also 3 stars. Then I read Forever, which is a graphic novel, and I read this on NetGalley, and I gave it 4 stars. I loved this. It was such a cute summer romance graphic novel, and I loved the main character. She was so cool, and I kind of want this to be a series now, because there was a heartbreaking thing that happened towards the end, and I just need more from these characters. But I did give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read that I also don't have with me is Kyle's Little Sister, but I loved this. In this graphic novel we're following Kyle's little sister. I think her name's Grace, so we're following her, and she has always been known as Kyle's little sister. Nobody calls her by a name, so this graphic novel is about her trying to tell people she's not just Kyle's little sister, she's her own person. And the sibling relationship in this is hilarious. I have 7 siblings myself, so I love this book, and I totally understood how she feels, so I gave that one 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed it. So now I'm going to go into books that I have physically that I've read. So yeah, I read Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Last Hour series, and I absolutely flaming loved this. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, but it also stressed me out a bit because it left on like something happened and it just ended, and I was like, she's left us for another year, wondering what the heck is gonna happen. So yeah, I was a bit frustrated at that, but I love it. I love these characters, and Matthew Fairchild is like my favourite character in the series. I love Matthew. I didn't like James as much in the first one, but I like James more in this one, and Cordelia is just like girl boss, she's amazing, and Lucy is so cute, and then we've got Jesse, he's cute. So yeah, love this one, and I gave it 5 stars. Then I read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, and I gave this 3 stars. it didn't, for me, have, like, it didn't make me sob, it didn't make me cry. It did make me cry, but it didn't make me sob. I've watched vlogs of people reading this and they've always like broke down in tears, and I wouldn't say it did that to me. It made me cry, but I was never like sobbing. I never had to like stop reading. It was just like as I was reading, tears were coming down. So I did cry, but I really wanted to sob at this and I didn't. It is a very sad book, and I definitely would look up the trigger warnings if you do want to read it. But for me, I gave it 3 stars, and I don't agree that it is as sad as people say, but that's just my experience with it. I didn't cry too much, so yeah, I gave that 3 stars. The next books I read are all William Shakespeare children's classics books, things. And I read these because I didn't know if I was gonna like get like the language in the Shakespeare ones, but after reading these I do definitely want to pick up some of the Shakespeare ones because I think I might like them. So I'm gonna go through the ones that I gave 4 stars, the ones I gave 3 stars, and then the ones I gave 2 stars. So I gave The Tempest 4 stars. I gave As You Like It 4 stars. I gave Othello 4 stars. I gave Much Ado About Nothing 4 stars. I gave A Midsummer Night's Dream 4 stars. I gave Twelfth Night 4 stars. I gave Romeo and Juliet 4 stars. But I didn't give it 4 stars because I loved it. It was just like, it was so reminiscent because at school we read Romeo and Juliet, so that's why I gave it 4 stars. And then Hamlet, I gave 3 stars. This was super sad, and I don't know if I want to read Shakespeare's version because the kid version was sad and almost had me crying. So then I read Henry V and I gave this 4 stars. Then I read Antony and Cleopatra and I gave this one 2 stars. I didn't care for this one. And I also gave Macbeth 2 stars. So yeah, they're my ratings for those. Overall I'd say they were good. Most of them were 4 stars with some like 3 and 2 stars in. The next book I'm going to talk about is another graphic novel that I read this month, and it's Slow Storm by Danica, I can't even pronounce her last name, but this was a graphic novel that takes place during I think it's like a tornado, like a tornado's happening and everything, but this wasn't as like dramatic as I thought it was going to be. I thought there were going to be a huge tornado and it was going to be like life or death. It wasn't. It was basically a story of a girl and a boy meeting and talking, and then he runs away and she don't bother finding him, technically. I mean, there's more to it, but that's to me what I would sum it up to be. I didn't really enjoy this. I gave it 2 stars, but I did like the art style in here. I thought it was really cool. So yeah, I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't that great, but luckily I got this from my library, so it's not a big loss. The next books I read, I am actually going to cover the author's name because they are Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I read these first 2 books because I wanted to annotate them and I loved them. Obviously they're Harry Potter. This was my favourite children's series growing up, so yeah, I loved them. I'm sure everybody knows what Harry Potter is about, so yeah. Then I read the graphic novel adaptation of The Great Gatsby, and I didn't like this one as much as I thought I was going to, but I think I'd like the book more. The reason I didn't like this one that much was because I couldn't connect with the characters. I didn't feel like the graphic novel lets me connect with the characters as much as I wanted to. So, but I feel like the novel would actually do that, and I actually have bought the novel and it's in my next haul, so yeah. I gave this one 3 stars. Now, the last book I read in June was The Magpie Society by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCulloch. I read this because I wanted to reread it to know whether I wanted to read the next book in this series, and I have decided I am going to carry on with the series. The first time I read this I gave it 3 stars. Now I have upped it to 4 stars. I just feel like maybe I wasn't in the right mood the first time I read it, but I loved this time. This was really cool, and I'm excited to see where this mystery leads us and what happens. But yeah, they're all the books that I read. Now I'm just going to go through some stats with you. In June I read a total of 3,961 pages. I read 22 books. 17 of them were physical, 4 were ebook, and 1 was audio. And my average rating for June was 3.5 stars. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read these and what you thought of them, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.